Hey guys, welcome back. Now we're going to talk about how to answer the question, how's the market? So I'm going to interview Lindsay and he'll give us some of his opinions on this. One thing that I want to mention right off the bat is good job to all of you who are sharing our how's the market section that we post on Facebook. It's such a great way to give your clients a little bit of information without you having to do a ton of work. Some of you are doing a great job of screenshotting things and putting them into a collage, or just having one post of the listings page or the absorption rate page. It's so great.
Oh, we always joke that some of them are doing a better job than we are.
I know.
Doing it, so
it's true.
That's awesome.
But obviously, you're doing that because it's important to let people know how the market is. So that's a great step one. But if you're having a casual conversation with somebody, and it's funny, I was in an Uber going to the airport on my way to Scottsdale, and I always sit in the front seat and like get chatty with the Uber drivers. And I said that I was in marketing at CIR Realty and I'm not a realtor and whatever, but obviously I know how the market is because I write our market updates. But there's never anybody ever that I say what I do and they're not just like, my mom is trying to sell their home, I don't really know, or like in 2 years I'm thinking of moving, or how's Calgary doing? Like, it is, you can't avoid the question if you remotely indicate that you're in the field of real estate.
Yeah, and the second they find out, it's the number one question you get.
Yeah.
Every single time. And I tell realtors all the time, if there's one thing, when you start off with any conversation that you need to learn how to have, the very first one that you need to know how to answer effectively is how's the market.
Totally, and that's really important.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
So, Lindsay, let's talk about a process for this.
Okay, so here's the way I like to look at this, and there is a step-by-step process that you can get. It's so easy, and just follow this. If you follow this, the goal here is obviously to answer how's the market, but to do it in a way that is compelling, makes you sound knowledgeable, because people are going to be looking at you saying, hey, you know what, am I going to do business with this person? Potentially, they're judging you. They might not be thinking that consciously, but people do business with people they know, like, and trust.
Well, and if you answer this amazing question that makes you look like an absolute expert, even if somebody wasn't thinking about it in the beginning, they might be at the end.
Exactly. So we put together this 4-step process. It's really 3 steps with an optional 4th. And let's take a look at it. We've written it out for you guys here. So the first one here is answer it authentically with solutions. So you're not going to be pretentious. You're going to set your pride at the door. Do not end up giving people a dissertation about all the stats and everything else. And you want to provide solutions, because even if condos are oversupplied and it's horrible out there, well, there's solutions. There's ways to handle that. The second one is, once you finish answering it, 30 seconds or less too, you're not going to go on a tirade about how the market is or stand on your soapbox and tell the people how the market is. 30 seconds or less, you want to get them talking. And the key thing here is ask questions and listen for change. You're trying to figure out if this person's genuinely interested in a lifestyle change. Number 3, once we've learned about them, you may offer something compelling that they might be interested in. This is going to get you their contact information. And number 4, and this is the optional one, if it feels like they're engaged and they want to continue on, then continue the conversation. That might have been a foot in the door to continue the conversation, or they might have just genuinely been interested. You get out of the Uber and off you go. So either way, it's okay.
Love it. So starting from the beginning, answer the question authentically with solutions. So give us an example of that. I'm sure it's, what's great, what's not, how to make the most of potential lemons.
And that's exactly it. I always say start with what's not great. And the reason I say that is, I use the example, I use this constantly, but it's such a good example of a waiter, where you go to a restaurant, you 2 different restaurants. The first waiter, you ask them, what's good on the menu? And the waiter says, everything's good. Well, you go to the next restaurant, it's a little bit higher end typically, and you say, well, what's good on the menu? And they say, well, I'll tell you what, we just got a fish order in that we're not quite as confident in. It didn't look like people aren't quite as happy as they normally would be. So I'm going to tell you to avoid that. But I'm going to tell you, we're famous for our steaks and we're famous for our chicken, so you can't go wrong with that. And, we have a Red Seal chef that blah, 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 that does this stuff. And it's incredible. And you're just like, wow, but wait a minute. This guy told you the fish was bad and that they screwed up something. Why do you trust them more versus that person that whitewashes it? So if you say about the market, if you say, oh, everything's fantastic, well, they've read the news. They know that everything's not fantastic. So you got to make sure you don't say that everything's wonderful. The way that I would start off, when I say authentically, and that's a piece of it, being authentic, it's like, well, everyone wants higher than $50 oil. And right now, our condo market still has a lot more condos out there than is supplied, and we still need some jobs to come back in Calgary. But I'll tell you what's happening for single-family homes, homes that are detached. Not everyone knows what that means. Homes that are on their own. We're actually in a seller's marketplace right now. Stuff is flying off the shelves, and we're seeing competing offers. For condos, you got to be aggressive with pricing if you're selling a condo. But for the buyer's side, that actually creates some good options. And that's it. It's authentically, you said what's not great, you said what's great, 30 seconds or less, and you're off to the races. And you didn't use anything. Well, the absorption rate is sitting at 6.34. They don't know what that means.
No.
Quit trying to sound like you're going to come across as ostentatious and sort of like you're talking down to them and patronizing. And people don't appreciate that very well.
Well, and I also feel like if you use those words, it kind of shows that you don't really understand what they mean either.
That's right.
Because it's very easy to drop a term if you have an idea what the term means, but if you can't use common language for it, it shows that your depth of understanding, in my opinion, isn't quite there.
I totally agree with that. And one of the things you might want to, you can use some stats that, you know what, for example, CIR, our March, 36% up year over year. That's a number that I use because it just instantly instills confidence that more sales are happening. That's right. And people are just like, that's great. So you can throw a couple stats in.
And the occasional fact is good because it's like, oh, that's a number. That means that they have proof of something.
Exactly.
So one or two stats
is
good.
What's not great about it, what's great, and what solutions are there, regardless of whether it's oversupply or anything else, what solutions?
So listening for change. So you say that to somebody.
Yeah.
And then somebody's probably going to respond with something. And it could be, you say that, and then I say, yeah, like, I've noticed that there's been a lot of for sale signs gone up in our community, and some of them are selling really fast.
Well, and one of the things that I do right away is my last line of the how's the market is posing a question to them to get them talking. So I'll say, so, you know, condos are this, but you have to be aggressive. And then we have 4 questions that we ask, and we actually have them written down on the slides here. So the 4 questions that we ask are, we start off, and I would say, oh, well, what community do you live in? So I'll say, and on condos are this. So what community do you live in? And you'll say?
Maple Ridge.
Maple Ridge. Oh, how long have you been there?
8 months.
Very one-worded answer. And what have you noticed about the market in your area? And it's an open-ended question.
Yeah, I've noticed that there are not that many houses. There are not that many homes that typically go up for sale there.
That's right. That's right. It's one of those communities that people live in for a long, long time. And there just simply isn't a lot of homes in Maple Ridge. How do you like it?
I love it.
And that's perfect. And you're going to get some people who love it, but you're going to get some people who stop and say, well, it's good, except, you know, in Maple Ridge, it is close to a lot of things, but you might say, but the house is a little bit older. We're starting to get some repairs. So we're just kind of wondering. And you're listening for that possibility. They say, well, you know, our work just moved and now we're a little bit further away, or we're pregnant, we're having a kid. We're kind of, and all you're doing is listening. And the next word out of your mouth is not going to be, well, I'm a realtor and I can help you sell your house.
Yeah.
But the next question is just like, okay, well, what's something valuable that this person might actually need?
Well, so even for me saying, you know, I really like living in Maple Ridge and homes don't come up for sale very often, you know, something to come back to that is, you know what, it is a very great community. You're lucky that you got into it. Whenever it comes time for you to sell, know that you're in a community that's hard to get into. You might be able to price it a bit accordingly. It's one of those areas that are, you know, they're calling it the donut. We're in that little donut thing. By the time you decide to sell, you can be in a really great position.
Exactly. And one of the things that I want to look and say is, okay, so this person's super happy with it. I know that people move once on average every 7 to 8 years. If she's lived there for 2 years, then in 6 years, she's going to move. Do I want to be her realtor of choice by being likable and everything? I sure do. Do I want her to refer me to people? Sure do. So I'm going to do what I can to capture her information and compel her to want to work with me by being the person that she knows, likes, and trusts. So again, I'm just going to go through these questions one more time. The first thing is what community you live in? So blah, 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 the market is this, then bang, that's it. So what community do you live in? How long have you been there? What have you noticed about the market in your area? Let them talk. And how do you like it? And you're listening for changes in their lifestyle. Yeah. All right. And the last one here is engaging them.
Yeah, absolutely. So not just ending it with a period and then you walk away, but something of, what can I do? And
offer them something of value. You love Maple Ridge. Well, that's awesome. And you said you've been tracking it. And one of the things I'd say is, Kirsten, you've probably been looking at sold signs, maybe even browsing realtor.ca to take a look at stuff, maybe even text messaging off of signs and seeing stuff. Why don't I fire you off the last 6 months of everything that's sold, and it's a link. You'll be able to see all the photos and the final sale price, so you can actually see what it is. I'll fire it off to your email. It's super easy.
Yeah.
And
yeah, would love that.
Yeah.
Genuinely, right? Like if any realtor came up to me and said that they would send me that, I'd be like, thank you. Like,
Yeah.
I'd love to have that.
Yeah, and it's like, and also we put together a market report that we send out, which keep you up to date and stuff. Do you mind if I put you on that too? And maybe they say no. It's like, okay, no problem, because I don't want to spam anybody. And I would say, but I don't want to spam you. So that's super important.
Yeah.
But just from that standpoint, it's like offer them something compelling. So I always say this: what will help them understand the market in their community? Is there something relevant based on how they answered the question? So, for example, let's say she said, "We're doing this, and we're doing our, we love it. We're actually doing our deck this year and everything else. Oh, we have this Best My Nest program that you can get 15% off. In fact, we just brought on a deck person who can give 15% off. Why don't we, put you in touch? And at least you can save the money. Do you mind if I put you on the program? It's totally free to you and stuff. It's my gift."
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, that'd be great. So I get all these things. So again, now she's engaging with me.
And now you have somebody on a newsletter every year, every month, until they're probably ready to sell.
Exactly. And is there something interesting that you can offer them that will help them as a homeowner? So all you're saying is, what might this person find valuable?
Absolutely.
That's such an easy question. So we've learned a bit about them. We've got them talking, found out whether they're genuinely interested to make conversation or not, which is fine.
Yeah.
But now I know that I have so many things, regardless, someone's a renter, a homeowner, whatever it is, Best My Nest, you'll have probably 2 or 3 things. So let's say a list of solds in their community, Best My Nest, and a newsletter or something. But you never want to say, can I sign you up for my newsletter? You can say, we put out a market summary every month and talk about some home maintenance tips. In fact, last month was all about making sure that your home is rodent proof or whatever it is. Do you mind if I send you a sample of it? And if you don't like it, you just unsubscribe.
Yeah.
And something like that. And people are like, yeah, that's interesting. But now they're giving you permission to opt in. And people, again, they know you. You've talked about it. They like you because you weren't ostentatious. And you started off just being like, yeah, things aren't like crazy. If you just say, oh, I'm so busy, things are great. I've seen people use other realtors because they thought you were too busy.
Oh, yeah.
And so make sure that, again, so we love the economy. We're all in this together, rally behind it. But there's some good stuff happening too.
Well, and when our 660 news report, I write the content change, and it's all market-based, and I do it every 2 weeks. And I incorporate exactly what you said, is you always have to state something factual that shows people that you're not trying to whitewash the situation.
That's right.
And then I always end it with where the opportunity in the current market exists.
Yeah.
Because there's always an opportunity for a certain demographic, and it's very okay to say, right now the opportunity isn't for you, right? Like this isn't your time, but it is this person's time.
Yeah.
And it's okay to say that because it instills trust.
We could do a whole meeting on authenticity. When people ask me, how things are going at work, it's like, whew, I'm learning a ton. And that's it. Oh, I think it must be amazing. Oh, we're just killing. We're learning a ton. We got challenges like anybody else, but we're doing some things good. We've grown like a banshee. People like that. Versus,
I'm drinking poison when I get home tonight.
That's right. That's right. Kelly, just throw up on the screen again the 4 things right at the start, not the questions, but the summary about how to answer how's the market. And again, number 1, answer authentically, 30 seconds or less, keep it short. Number 2, ask questions, listen for change. Number 3, offer them something compelling. And number 4, if they want to keep talking, engage them, continue the conversation. That's it. Follow that, learn how to do it. The number 1 question you'll get asked, the second people find out, and they will be judging you.
Awesome. Well, there you go, guys. Thanks for tuning into our meeting. Hopefully you enjoyed the content. As a quick aside, I want to just make a note that if any of you guys have relevant content or things that you think that we should be talking about, please let us know. We do our best to try and gauge what we think is important to you, but you definitely know what is important to you. So always feel free to email myself or Lindsay with any ideas, and we are very happy to explore those. And if not, we will see you next week and have a really great week, and we'll probably see you guys. We have a lot of stuff going on this week, so hopefully we'll see some of you in the office or online.
Yeah, and Kriya's got a new commercial out, which I really like because it's something that realtors control. So take a look, and we'll take you guys out with that.
Have a good week, everybody.
Take care.